I just waiting for Fábio to connect. Hey, Fábio, how are you doing?
Very good, Daniel. How are you?
Good. Yeah. So I was talking. We've been talking for half an hour in
Yeah,
Portuguese.
you're gonna do the same thing in English now. No problem.
Yeah, we can do different too because I think some people, they go to both, and that is already like almost 200 people. So I think the
Really good.
people who came from the Portuguese one will do the English one. So the we can talk different stuff too. But the first thing I wanna we talk about self-defense, of course. Like I said, I'm launching a small free course next week of self-defense with my experience and everything that I learned in BJJ and inside MMA. And I want you, because I know you understand very well the history of BJJ, you tell a little bit the history of Jiu-Jitsu back then in the 50s when the Grace family started the academy in Rio Branco Avenue in Rio de Janeiro, and how it was and how it changed and how the self-defense can kind of get a little bit lost in the way.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story because the Grace Academy back in the days when Master Helio and Master Carlos used to teach, they built an academy for private classes only. So they had over 500 students just doing private classes. Imagine that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
nowadays it would be a dream to have academy, with 500 students doing private classes. But anyway, that's what they had, and so they developed a program to teach individual class, right? It's one-on-one class based on self-defense. What happened that time was that the family, all the cousins and the nephews that they were there teaching together with them, they of course need to train. So when the academy closed, they started training with inside the family, just the cousins, just to do some sparring and keep evolving in jiu-jitsu. And when those guys and the old students as well, they started inviting students to get a better training, and so those students that move in order to open their own schools, that's exactly what they took. They took that simple training instead of bringing the methodology based on self-defense. They
Mm-hmm.
start teaching based on the regular class as we know
Mm-hmm.
today, like warm up, 2 or 3 techniques, and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So that exactly what happened, and maybe is one of the most important things to understand when we look to jiu-jitsu nowadays, because you
Mm-hmm.
have the majority of the academies are focused on competition. And what happened was that it shrank the academies. We start losing a lot of students. Jiu-Jitsu are expelling thousands of students because not everybody wants to compete. But of course the students would love to learn some self-defense and to do jiu-jitsu as a martial art, but the competition scenario is just for a small percentage of the students, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a mistake we made. And I think it's time to try to correct that, bringing back a little bit of philosophy and a little bit more of self-defense.
Yeah, and I think there is many gyms, many academies and schools are doing that, but some people they still with that idea that there's the new school and old school, and I saw you talking about that, and I think there is no point on that because jiu-jitsu is a complete martial art, is a self-defense system, and sport, is the consequences. Like I was saying in Portuguese, that it's like if somebody's gonna learn how to dance, they are going for the art, and the physical activity is the consequence. So I don't think there is such a thing as new school and old school, because you gotta teach both, and when the people get in the academy, they pretty much need to learn these old school principles, right? What do you think about that?
Yes, the problem then is that nowadays the most of the instructors that are teaching in the academies nowadays, they didn't have a chance to learn self-defense at all.
Yeah.
So imagine let's take a look on the instructors they are teaching today. Probably they start jiu-jitsu in 90s.
Yeah.
You know, in 90s was the time that I usually call the decade of survivors. You know, because in order to train jiu-jitsu in that time, you must be really tough. Otherwise, you would quit in the first classes, because in every academy, you go as a white belt, they just drop you inside the shark tank and you need to survive. That's the way it was, you know, and this was really bad for jiu-jitsu, you know, in that time. And that's our problem today. And then they start to this kind of dichotomy of old school and new school, which doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
Jiu-jitsu is just one thing, but we have that split in two ways. First, the old school people, they stop evolving because they stopped studying, right? So the techniques kept evolving and they couldn't follow. What they do, they start talking bad about their evolution and try to bring the attention to the old school mentality that, what the guys are doing now is shit. Which of course not true. That what the guys do now is, you know, is definitely the best jiu-jitsu, you know,
For sure. Yeah.
that is, you know. And then when you go for the new school that do the best jiu-jitsu that is, but they don't have the fundamentals, you know. So they don't really recognize the importance of the self-defense and all the masters that you know, pavement the way to, you know, and I think that's the biggest problem that we need to reconnect, you know. So when you bring the new guys to understand that and tell the old people, say, look, this is evolution, you know, just let's try to help those guys to learn the self-defense as well, so they can provide a better class to their students. Is definitely not a good idea if you focus your academy just in competition. You know, you won't succeed, because majority of people, they want to do jiu-jitsu as a martial art. They don't want to be an athlete, you know. And if you focus your academy just for athletes, I can tell you for sure that you won't have a long life doing jiu-jitsu. I mean.
Yeah, you know what is funny? You said about the dichotomy between people say, you know, there's old school and new school. So sometimes I go give a seminar, and because my jiu-jitsu is pretty based on fundamentals, people come to me and say, what do you think about beating bull? What do you think about 50-50? Because they expect me to criticize that, saying that it's
Of
good.
course,
And I
yeah.
said, I think it's great. You know, it's an evolution of the sport. And I think even if you adapt to that, you can use in MMA, because people say, that doesn't work. I think you gotta have an open mind, because you know, one thing doesn't change the other thing, the importance of the other thing, and it's like, you know, we live in a world very polarized, but I think in jiu-jitsu, we kind of, I think, being able to bringing back this, I think these fundamentals and self-defense. What do you think? How we're doing a good job doing that? Which schools are doing that? What do you think? You know, there's too much to do yet, or?
I think that it's maybe it's a mission that, you know, it's gonna be hard to accomplish, you know, but something need to be done. And I really understand, as a leader, in one of the biggest teams in jiu-jitsu, I need to do my part and try to bring the sense of martial art back to the sport. You know, so I think this is really important for jiu-jitsu to grow without disconnecting, you know, the idea of being a martial art. You know, and that's something. But the problem is that a lot of instructors they are teaching now, they don't have that knowledge, you know. And how can you teach something that you don't know? It makes the problem much bigger. But courses like you are providing now, maybe it's gonna be the you know the thing that these instructors need, the access to some knowledge that they can go online, they can check, they can learn, they can study, and then they can implement in their, you know, in their methodology inside their academies. I think that's going to be very useful tool if the guys do that, you know. And of course, we are doing our part. We are, you know, promoting our methodology. We open the alliance methodology for everybody, you know, in order to try to show the instructors that is a different way to do it, you know, and their way is already proved that is definitely better than the way that the people were doing before. You know, our academies are full, have much more students doing that, and I think we are you know sharing this with the whole community as you were planning to do.
Do you think, you know, something that just got to my mind right now, that the federation, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, could do something like do a exam or something for black belts, and when you get the diploma, and give a course that, you know, they can at least try to get interested in that, and get a people more access to the fundamentals of self-defense. Of course, you know, if the guy is a black belt, he's supposed to know that, but it could be a way, you know, just to what if
You know what, Demian? The problem is, I think IBJJF, you know, they have been doing a great job promoting the sport and organizing the tournaments and treating the athletes in the best way possible. You know, so Jiu-Jitsu has grown a lot, you know, in the past years. Just to give you guys a number, in 2019, the IBJJF alone did 119 tournaments in 80 different countries. So this is a lot, right?
yeah.
But I don't see the IBJJF as a regulator institution because I don't think Jiu-Jitsu belongs to IBJJF. That's what I meant. For example, we have a lot of academies that are not really under IBJJF. They don't really
Yeah.
put the students to compete, and they are doing a great job. They are doing a great job, and I can give you some examples like Valente Brothers
Yeah.
or Hiro and Hene in the Horus sons in
Some.
LA. You know, so they are doing jiu-jitsu, but they are not under the IBJJF idea in terms of competition. So I like to understand jiu-jitsu as an organism, and IBJJF has his play, and the academies has their play, and everybody needs to find the best way to, you know, to help the whole community, you know. So I think we are doing our part. So you're gonna bring some very important, you know, instructions video to teach people how to do self-defense. So you are doing your part, and so everybody's gonna start to work together, you know. And this is, in my opinion, what gonna make jiu-jitsu grow, you know. And more important, connect. You know, don't let the competition be a completely different thing, because that's what's gonna happen if we don't do anything now.
Yeah, you know, you spoke about Hero and Henner, and I was watching them a video of them, very interesting, that they say it's pretty clear. They draw a triangle, and they say, look, when the student get in the academy, some students you will train, mostly students will train just a couple years and leave, you know. And but as the funnel goes up, some people will stay like 3 years, 4 years, right, until the black belt. But jiu-jitsu, you know, is the most efficient martial art that, you know, people, you know, the human ever invented. So you gotta give for the base, the people who you know, in this base of this pyramid, uh, give them the knowledge of self-defense, because even if they train for like, you know, 3 months, 4 months, they're gonna have something forever that they will be able to defend themselves in a tough situation. And even if they don't, you know, because the lives, you know, change and they cannot train anymore, they will have something forever. And it's much more important that you just get the people inside the academy and start with the peak, you know, the top, teaching the sport part of the martial art, but start training the self-defense part of the martial art, and then you go, you know, narrowing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I remember one day when I looked to my academy and I see that my pyramid was upside down. So it
Mm-hmm.
means that I had a lot of tough guys, black belts on top,
Mm-hmm.
and just a few white belts training. You know, then I realized that I was doing something really wrong. You know, so the pyramid should be the opposite. You know, of
Mm-hmm.
course, it's much easier to be a white belt than reach the top and get your black belt. It takes years, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the base should be white belts. That's for your, you know, if your academy is healthy, that's how your pyramid is gonna look like.
Mm-hmm.
So once you understand that, okay, what should I offer to my white belts to make my class interesting? You know, and the
Mm-hmm.
answer is only one: self-defense. That's the only thing they can relate it with something that they know. So it makes sense. So the class is understandable. And of course, if you teach a class that's understandable, your student's gonna come back to learn more, you know, and there's a cycle, and you're gonna move up on the rankings. And of course, you're gonna lose some students in the way because black belt's not for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even though your students, let's say the students leave the academy with 1 year, they already have a really solid base, and jiu-jitsu is going to be in their lives forever, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Fabio, because sometimes we think that because, you know, we've been athletes all our lives, so we think that everybody wants to roll, you know, and be, you know, do a training life with like 10,000 minutes of rolling and sweating and get really, and there is some classes nowadays that there's no even, you know, rolling. There is just the techniques and fundamentals, and those classes are full. You know, I saw the academies, I saw the gyms there, and there's a concept that I had before that I said, well, that's not gonna work. But you know, it's tough to change, but when people change, I understand that. I think it's interesting to see that, right?
Yeah, that's one of my missions when I start to teach the courses that I do, like Viver Jiu-Jitsu, and
Mm-hmm.
then the methodology is exactly to explain a different way, you know, to run your business, to take care of your students in a different way, you know, because of course, how many tough guys you know, for real, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
count in one hand, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot try to implement that, you know, that toughness in your gym, because of course, if you do that, you're gonna have just a few students,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be really bad for your business. And if the thing is bad for your business, what's going to happen? You're going to close your school very soon, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to leave jiu-jitsu and do something else.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep the good instructors teaching jiu-jitsu for a long period of time, we need them to teach, you know, self-defense and get a lot of students. And if they like, if they want to, they can, you know, put some of those students to compete, you know, and create
Mm-hmm.
a special class for competitors. But it's gonna be a very, very few guys doing that.
Yeah, and when you say the tough, you know, the tough guys, but actually, you know, we are talking about a mindset of competitor like we've been, you know, in our lives. But of course, if you go training, you know, you slowly you're gonna become tougher and tougher and tougher. That's normal, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
But there's some people that are, you know, pretty tough, and I think, but I think everybody gets this benefit of getting tougher and tougher in when training jiu-jitsu, and even learning self, even if you don't roll, just by doing self-defense, because that is something that you develop. But I think nowadays, the good academies like your academy and many academies or schools, they go more gradual, right? More step by step, right? Before was just, go to the Shark Tank, like you said, in the first class, and now it's more like step by step. And when you see, it's like, I remember when I started to train boxing, if you go and they throw you inside the ring, you're scared because you never got a punch, and it's hard. But if they go and do a little bit of shadow with you, and then they do a little school of boxing with the other guy, and you know what they are doing, and then suddenly you're sparring hard and you don't even feel, right? So I think that's the same concept we can do in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yes, I think one of the I would say biggest mistakes that instructors usually do is that they don't look the class from the student's point of view. They do what they like to. They go and they teach what they like to teach. So they choose the techniques that they like to apply, that they like to do, that they know how to teach well. So they are just focused on the technical part. And what's important for the students is that message understandable? So you need to look from the student's point of view to understand if your class is being good or not. And when you start to look and make your academy to look from the student's point of view, you're going to change everything, because then you can understand that class is not comfortable for a beginner. Imagine that, just getting the example that you just gave us. When you go for a boxing class, and the instructor say, hey, go there and start to spar with that guy, you're gonna be scary. But in jiu-jitsu it's even worse, because you're gonna be down there without breathing. So you're gonna get panic. So you're gonna leave the academy next day, you never come back. So you need to prepare the guy, the student, step by step. First, learning the fundamentals, being comfortable, understanding that the weight on top of you is not a big deal. You can deal with that. You learn how to move, how to take the pressure out of your body, when someone's on top of you. So it's something that you need to learn before you go to spar. So you need to know the techniques before. You need to understand a little bit the game. Otherwise, you're gonna bring that feeling of fight. So the adrenaline is gonna run in your blood, and then you're gonna freeze. And that is not pleasant. The guy's gonna leave your academy because there is no fun.
Yeah, I just remember a history, and you were teaching us, how to teach jiu-jitsu for a beginner. And you said, that's back in 2001 maybe, and you said, look, when a guy come to the school, sometimes he are not used to walk without barefoot. So just to get inside the mat with barefoot is weird for them. And then, with a lot of tough guys, you need to take care of that guy. And I remember you called Soluso, a friend of mine, and he said, Soluso, teach them how to defend a slap to the face. And then Soluso get a guy who was supposed to, play the students. And Soluso said, now I'm going to slap you to the face. He said, no, don't do that. The guy is going to be really afraid. You should say, imagine if somebody's going to slap to the face. So if you try to do that on me, I will defend like that. But even the way you talk, it's important, right?
Really important. And again, when you look through the student's lens, and then you can see okay, what kind of experience I'm getting here. Okay, let me step on the mat for the first time. It's a different feeling. It's nothing to us because we're doing this have been doing this forever. But for a student that never barefoot on the mat, never felt that, soft, soil. And
Yeah.
that's something that they need to enjoy. And you need to really introduce the guy in that environment in a really nice way. And the best way to do that is through the self-defense, because you can go
For
step by
sure.
step, understanding, and then you can create a situation. Say, look, imagine if someone comes to slap you in the face, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, the guy going to run away. Okay, but let's say that there's a wall over there. You cannot really walk away. What's your next move? Oh, I'm going to do that. No, but if you do that, I can do that. So you just show the guy in a really nice way. The class should be fun. Your students should be, the class should be enjoyable,
Yeah, comfortable, and like you said, self defense is good because he will understand. It's pretty common, I get it, you in a headlock, in a side headlock, and people will understand. But if you say, okay, do this half guard trip in the first class, he doesn't have a
Yeah.
clue what is that, right?
There's no sense, right?
Yeah,
There's no sense. So, and this happens a lot. Again, it's just because the instructors, that's the way they learn. They are just repeating the same way they have learned. So I think we have this mission to share what, the best practice we learned during these years, and share with everybody. I think it's gonna be beneficial for the whole jiu-jitsu community.
for sure. Fábio, thank you very much, man. That was a pleasure. In Portuguese, in English, it's kind of awkward sometimes speaking English, but was great. I will do the same with Hickson next week, and with Silvio Betting, and I hope will be great, as being with you is a lot of knowledge. I will listen the interview that you told with Marcelo Alonso, but
Yeah,
it's
was a good
in
one.
Portuguese, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in Portuguese, and there's another one with Pedro Valente that's really nice to talk a lot about
perfect.
self-defense as well. And thank you, Demian, for this invitation. It was a pleasure to talk to you as always.
Thank you, Fábio. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.